This is the DIY Artist Route and You podcast, helping you as a musician and creative entrepreneur navigate the uncommon path to success. I am D. Grant Smith, syndicated host of the Appetizer Radio Show. I'm also an audience and community building coach and mentor for musicians and entrepreneurs, a speaker and future author. That book is going to be coming out very soon. It'll be called the Radio Promotion Handbook. Today's podcast episode features a conversation with my close friend, mentor, and community builder, BirdThomas. Bird is the curator of fun learning experiences at the Center for Contemporary Arts in my town of Abilene, Texas. She is also a painter and photographer and is the maestro behind Art Walk in downtown Abilene, a monthly event that brings our community together for a celebration of the arts. When it comes to the art of bringing the arts and people together, Bird is a top-shelf pro. I wanted to connect with her for this podcast because Bird embodies what a community builder and humanitarian looks like. She has this incredible ability to connect with people in a powerful way the very first time they meet her that sticks with them over time and brings them back to the center, back to Art Walk, and back to any event that she does. That is real community building and audience growth that we can all learn from. Her insights into the DIY artist route are perfect for you and I today. I spoke with Bird in person in her office at the Center for Contemporary Arts.
Maybe I should tell the part about being born and reared in Abilene, but not finding Abilene to be a place I wanted to live. Upon turning 18 years old, it was 18 years, 2 days, 6 hours, 45 minutes, and 10 seconds, and I left skid marks getting out of here so that I could go someplace that I felt was better suited to me. I stayed gone 29 years. I was certain there was something in the world that I was missing, that I desperately needed to experience, and it was not happening here. During that 29 years, I found that the thing I was missing was the wisdom to know that one has to create one's own fun. And that was a big piece for me. I kind of kid about doing time in Arkansas. I did 7 years time in Arkansas. And during that time, I wasn't incarcerated. I worked for the University of Arkansas. And my mission was, as an extension agent, I dealt with people's lifestyles. And I learned upon living in Arkansas that really all you needed to survive was yourself and a knife. But what you needed to be happy was to create that which makes you happy yourself, that nobody was going to do it for you. And as a teacher or a coach of lifestyle, I learned that there was a whole lot of happiness that lay in community. And the reason that happiness laid in community was because a community is something maybe intangible that accepts who you are, and we as human beings strive for acceptance. Acceptance with ourselves and acceptance with our fellow man. And I think we find community in those people that seem to accept us. And so as I was an extension agent, I started being a community builder. And it just has a life of its own. You don't really be the builder of community. You create a space where community can happen. And I brought that with me when I moved back to Abilene 29 years ago. I came back to Abilene just about as fast as I left. I didn't quite leave skid marks, but I did come back because I discovered that it wasn't Abilene I was upset with, having nothing for me to do. Who I was upset with was just me because I needed to get off it and create whatever it was I wanted to do. So armed with that, I came back to Abilene and have lived happily ever after.
So you answered a question before I even had a chance to ask it, which is normal for you anyways, because you read my mind fairly well anyways. Now, one of the things that I've noticed about you, and I've learned from you over the, I don't know how many years you and I have been hanging out, you are very good at seeing people fully when you encounter them the first time. And I can see it in your eyes, the way that you encounter people, and people can see it in your eyes when they first encounter you, and then every duration after that, which is you communicate by the way that you look at people, and you say, I value you, and I love you, and you have worth, and that is something that is incredibly powerful. Where did that come from?
Being present. That's all it is. Our natural state of being as human beings is to love each other and accept each other. And if you're not quite present, like if you're busy looking over your shoulder at your television program, or if you're busy looking over your shoulder for someone more interesting to talk to at the cocktail party, you can't be present to the person you're with. And just like that old rock and roll song that's become a classic, you love the one you're with, you just be present with the one you're with. And if you're present, that person gets the communication. And they interpret it, rightly or wrongly, as being that you're being appreciated, accepted, and loved. And that's a human condition. We all want that. So being present with someone, especially young people, I think, is very, very important so that they're empowered. And they're empowered by your presence.
One of the things you do that is incredibly inspirational here in Abilene, and most of us know that you do this. Some people don't know that you do it. Your name badge, and I'll get a picture with you in your name badge before I leave, but you are the orchestrator and all things maestro-esque of Art Walk, a monthly event that brings the art community here to one long street in Abilene. And how long have you... Okay, I'm going to ask several questions about this. First, if you were to tell somebody that had never been to Art Walk before, whether they lived in Abilene or not, how would you describe that?
I would describe it as a mini street festival where people communicate with each other by way of the arts. They use the arts to say what they think, feel about social issues. Art Walk always, or hopefully always, seems like it's a lot of fun and kind of chaotic, and there are things going on everywhere. You can't come to an art walk and experience everything. You just get pieces, because there are things going on in every art venue in the downtown historic district. So there's no way one person can experience everything in 3 hours. So I would describe it kind of as a 3-ring circus. And that's by design, because there may not be something for everyone, but there is something for almost everyone. And if you come to Art Walk, you'll understand it because you will have an experience of it. And I'm all about experiential learning and teaching, and Art Walk gives certain people a chance to express themselves through some kind of performance, whether it's a performance of music, a performance of drama, a performance of voice, a performance of dance, or a performance of enjoying the visual arts. Things are being said, and some people understand those things, and others, by being exposed to those things, I think will eventually understand. They may not understand at first, but there's always a much deeper meaning underlying the theme of the Art Walk than meets the consciousness.
Is there a conscious effort or thought about fostering the connectivity of the people that you can tell are wanting to be more a part of what's going on versus the people that you can tell are just there and they would rather be somewhere else?
Most people that come to Art Walk want to be there. There may be a few disgruntled husbands or teenagers whose parents drag them there or whose wife drags him there. But most people at Art Walk want to be there. And usually, even if they don't want to be there, the atmosphere is usually very uplifting, and it doesn't take very long, if they will participate in what's going on, for them to change their attitude about not wanting to be there, because things are delightful. Things make you smile. And things that you didn't think you were going to enjoy, maybe you realize you do enjoy after all. So I find there's lots of little miracles take place at Art Walk, and I would define miracle as just a shift in perception. And I think a lot of people do shift their perception about the arts when they come and experience them at Art Walk.
This kind of ties into what you were just talking about, in what you said a minute ago about being present in the moment. And one of the things I've learned from you is that how we treat each other as people determines a lot about what happens within our own personal lives. And I'm curious, for you, since you are a practitioner of loving people in the moment, is there a mantra that you've adopted over time, or just some series of things that you do to kind of get yourself in the frame of mind, even if, let's say you're having a rough morning or whatever, or a rough day, is there something that kind of gets you back into that gear to be able to be present in the moment with people?
A very wise friend of mine reminded me once that we are human beings, not human doings. And so I think if I have a mantra, and that's probably a big if, because I haven't really given the mantra idea a thought, but I just remember to myself to be. And if you be moment by moment, you realize that in that particular moment, you're okay. Nothing is eating you, nothing is killing you, nothing is really threatening you. All of that is very illusory, and without getting philosophical, I just maybe remind myself, just be. And if you be, as human beings were built to do, then you realize everything's fine.
One of the things that you taught me a long time ago, and it's led to some really awesome things in my developmental stages as a, what am I, entrepreneur, coach, human being, is to imagine the outcome that I want so that it can come into being. Can you describe what that is for people that might have a hard time understanding the concept?
Of course, I would love to. Being a visual artist myself, I understand the power of visualization. And maybe it's a little metaphysical, but it's very practical as well, that the way you achieve things and the way you create things is to first see it in your mind. It begins, everything begins as a thought. And the stronger you build the thought, the faster it becomes a reality. And visualization is one of those ways that one can create. For example, I want to make a painting. First, I imagine in my mind what I want the painting to look like, but more than what it looks like, I want to imagine what it's going to say to the viewer. What am I going to say with this particular visual art? And once I decide that, it sort of creates itself. You just have to facilitate its creation. And the same is true in life for creating any circumstance you want. And my greatest challenge is just remembering how powerful the visualization is. Sometimes it takes writing something down and seeing it with your eyes that it's written down. And then it may take years to materialize, but it will manifest itself in whatever it was that initial thought happened to be. It will incubate and eventually hatch, and then you've got it. So the hitch there is you've got to be very careful with your thoughts. If you think bad things are going to happen, guess what? Bad things happen.
Okay, so we were talking to Bird, and she was talking about the power of thought, and when you imagine something happening, if you imagine bad things happening, bad things are going to happen to you. when you imagine good things happening and you imagine a positive outcome, it might not be instantaneous, but that outcome will find its way into happening. So, knowing that I was going to be interviewing Bird and that we were going to be talking on this Monday, the 21st of December, and my wife's car is in the shop this morning, and I thought at first there would be a chance that the guys would call me to let me know that my car is finished while Bird and I were talking. I hoped that that would have happened while we were at lunch, but it didn't. So I had thought 3 separate instances that we'd be having the interview, and I would be recording you, and I'm recording with my iPhone 4S. It's still awesome. Sorry. That those guys would call me in the middle of the interview, and of course, that's what just happened. So our we weren't cut short necessarily, but Bird was in the middle of a thought, and then in the middle of that thought, the phone rang. So, ironically, it rang on the question where we were talking about what you imagine happening is what ends up happening if your brain power is strong enough, and I guess mine is. So, would you like to finish that that thought, Bird?
No, only a giggle. The happening spoke for itself. I mean, you imagined several times this morning that happening, and lo and behold, it happened. So it just hammers in the nail more with a great example of that thought process creating something actually happening.
Okay. The last thing I want to ask you about, I'm gonna speak directly or ask this in the direct line of artists. Now, this podcast and the sessions that we have are geared towards entrepreneurs too, and entrepreneurs. And Bird works for a nonprofit organization. You could tie this to nonprofits because there's community building involved in the nonprofit world too. But speaking to artists, what one piece of advice would you give as an absolute necessity for someone that is wanting to build a community around their work?
Believe in yourself. Plain and simple. Those 2 words say everything. Believe yourself. Yourself has to be believable, first of all, and then you have to do it. You have to believe that you will achieve whatever you give thought to. So give it thought and do it.
I love that you just, I had not barely finished asking the question and like, bam, you dropped it.
It's easy. I mean, that's all there is to it. You just believe that it will happen. Wayne Dyer, who's now deceased, was a famous pop psychologist. And my favorite book that he wrote is, people say something about, I'll believe it when I see it. And that's pretty common for the doubting Thomases in the world. But Wayne Dyer wrote a book called You'll Believe It. You will see it when you believe it. So that's what I go by. You gotta believe it first, and then you'll see it. It just happened.
Thank you so much for everything. Every conversation I have with you, I learned something. And unfortunately, I don't record every conversation. Otherwise, I could go back and have this limitless amount of wisdom that I could glean from. But this has been wonderful as always. So thank you.
Thank you for doing it. It was fun.
BirdThomas, my close friend, mentor, and fun learning experience curator at the Center for Contemporary Arts, a nonprofit organization in Abilene, Texas, dedicated to providing enriching and educational experiences for the region's communities through the promotion and support of artists. More information at center-arts.com. Bird is not an author, but she absolutely should be, don't you think? Let her know by reaching out via my blog at dgrantsmith.com, and I will get your words and feedback to her. Subscribe to this podcast to get all of the episodes with indie musicians, community builders, and thought leaders. Do so via iTunes and our button there. Music from this episode from Timothy Palmer, a song called Tryin' from his album The Half Boy. Get more of Timothy's amazing songwriting at facebook.com/Timothy Palmer Music.
All I want to do is get to where I'm going.
The DIY Artist Route and You podcast helps you as an artist, an entrepreneur, or a creative startup turn your talent and dreams into a profitable career. More information, free PDF guides, and a full archive of episodes of this podcast is available at dgrantsmith.com, where you can also connect one-on-one with me. And let's talk about your uncommon path. Let me know what an area of the road that you're on that you want some clarity or help with. Once again, reach out to me directly at dgrantsmith.com and we will chart your course together. Thanks for joining me. I am D. Grant Smith for the DIY Artist Route and You podcast. Share this route with your friends via Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, email, and more. The share links are below this player. Keep carving your uncommon pathway, my friend. We will meet up again very soon.